As I'm recording this, Winter is Coming, the special mid-December yearly edition of Dynamite is happening right now as we speak live. And it's headlined by Adam Page defending against Bryan Danielson. However, speaking of Dynamite, last week was the go-home show to Winter is Coming. And it took place in the same arena that Monday Night Raw took place in the week prior. That is the UBS Arena in Elmira, New York, I think. Basically the Long Island region of New York. And basically something happened last week which was, not reported at first, but as we got closer to Dynamite tonight, more reports came out about it because I think they needed to get as much information as they could. And according to Fightful Select, which is a premium service of Fightful.com run by Sean Ross Sapp, who is one of the main contributors to not only Fightful.com, but one of the more reliable sources when it comes to reporting what's happening behind the scenes. Fightful.com, Fightful Select reports that last week a fan was able to sneak into the AEW locker room posing as an extra. You heard me right. The fan was able to sneak in to the AEW locker room at the UBS Arena and pose as an extra. Now I know the first thing people are going to say, well, if you're going to say that WWE never does that, what happened recently with Seth Rollins? Look, I'm not saying WWE hasn't had this kind of stuff happen before, but a lot of what's happened to them has happened on screen. It's been captured on screen, or at least, it's been basically cut away from because of the fact that nobody wants to show what's going on. I mean, if you're talking about the thing with Seth Rollins, yeah, that was dumb, but it's mainly because the fan was fooled by a troll posing as Seth Rollins with a fake account. And even though that fan shouldn't have done what he did anyway, still, they were able to take care of it right off the bat. I mean, yeah, he did get to Seth and take him down, but at least security and, certain police officers and all that was there to get him off, before anything bad happened. But yeah, security should have been better, should have been more tightly, more tightly grouped together, I should say, to prevent something like that, period. But again, like I said, AEW had an incident that happened before the show went on the air, or at least that's what the report is alluding to. Because according to Fightful Select, this is what they report from last week at the UBS Arena, and I quote, this is what they report, and I quote, fan reportedly ejected from last week's AEW Dynamite after posing as an extra. And this is what they say, and I quote, Fightful Select reports that the fan was allowed backstage by the UBS Arena's security, not AEW security, after he posed as an extra for the show. The fan made his way into the AEW locker room and sat in Dax Harwood's seat. When he was informed of that, he apologized and tried to say he was an extra again before moving to a seat that belonged to Blade. The outlet reports that it quickly became evident to people that there was something wrong here, and they questioned the person while he was putting on some quote-unquote Jeff Hardy-style armbands. He stated he was trained by Jeff Hardy, who does not train people, and the outlet has confirmed that Hardy didn't train him. He also was unable to identify who would have hired him as an extra, naming someone who doesn't do that. He also claimed to be a friend of Taz, which one talent said was clearly not true. MJF and Dax Harwood then quickly ejected him from the locker room and took him to someone who said he had previously been kicked out of an AEW show in Boston in October. So basically, this wasn't the first time this fan had done this, because apparently he tried to do something similar during a Dynamite in Boston, Massachusetts. And, first of all, like I said, I think security, no matter who, has a performance there, whether it's AEW Wrestling, WWE Wrestling, NWA, Impact, doesn't matter if it's a concert, Disney on Ice, whatever, you have to make sure that your security is tightened, or is wound, I should say, so tightly that nobody, and I mean nobody, can get in. Also, I think whoever the security was for the UBS Arena should have been trained better. I don't know if these people may have been new and they weren't given the full scope of what to look out for. It's hard to say, but they shouldn't have fell for something that was so obvious, obviously fake, that is, or obviously off. I mean, when it takes basically the wrestlers, the stars, to notice that, hey, something's not right here. Who the hell is this guy, and what is he talking about? When it takes people like them to escort this guy, to the proper authorities there, and those authorities have to say, yeah, this guy's done this before, get him out of here. That right there, shows, one, like I say, the lack of training on security, mostly the arena security's part, but also it shows a bit of the greenness for AEW for not having their security partnered up with the arena security so this kind of stuff doesn't happen. Because usually, like I say, no matter what performance is at these kind of venues, you usually see, from what I've seen, not just regular security, the arena or stadium security, the venue security, but you also see the security representing the performance company or event that's there alongside them. That's what you see. And whoever the security was for the UBS Arena that allowed this guy in there, obviously, like I said, were new. But again, like I said, it also shows the greenness still, even though they're 2 years in, the greenness and inexperience, if you will, of AEW and not being able to put the security alongside the arena security to prevent this kind of stuff from happening. Because when you really think about it, guys, when you really get down to it, this is dangerous. This is downright dangerous. Because who knows what this fan could have done before the show? Who knows? I mean, yes, WWE has been known to have incidents happen to their stars and their shows, disruptions and all that as well in the past, if not recently. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the most recent example is what happened with Seth Rollins. All because the guy that attacked him was trolled by someone posing as Seth with a fake account. And even though he should have known better himself, and it looks like he had some mental problems anyway, it still shouldn't have happened. And security, at least arena security, should have been on top of that. This is also another reason why sometimes I think not only arenas, themselves, but the companies, the performance events, if you will, that will be there. This is why I think they should also enlist the police, or at least some members of the police force, to be there to take care of the situation or to make sure these kind of things don't happen. So yeah, that basically doesn't make not only the USB Arena look bad for letting anybody in there because they're saying, oh, I'm this person, but it also makes the AEW security look bad because it shows the greenness still involving them. But what it also does as well is it makes the AEW fans look bad. And I'm not just talking regular AEW fans that watch AEW more so than WWE or any other wrestling product. I'm talking the diehards, the strong supporters, and all that. The people that even today were disappointed by the fact that, when they heard Kevin Owens had re-signed with the WWE, just couldn't comprehend it. Like they tried to understand the reason, but in the end they feel like he made a mistake and that he's going to regret that mistake he's made. And with something like this going on, it gives a lot of the general overall wrestling community that loves everything wrestling, that supports everything wrestling, whether it's AEW, WWE, Impact, MLW, New Japan, AAA, PWG, whatever outlet it is, it gives the overall wrestling community enough ammunition, or more ammunition I should say, to fire back at the diehard fans of AEW. By basically pointing out that, see, this is the kind of stuff that happens because you're so blinded by the truth. or you're so blinded by, no, not the truth, but you're so blinded by the fact that AEW is this alternative, AEW is this, AEW is that, and you don't see, the potential negative that surrounds it. Now, again, I'm not trying to put total fault, I should say, on AEW. I'm not trying to put total fault on AEW, because they share part of the blame for not having security paired up with the USB security to prevent this kind of stuff from happening. But the thing is, like I said, it still shows you the inexperience that is there, not just by Tony Khan, but by those that are trying to help him out. It shows. And if you're going to have, any kind of event there, any kind of wrestling event there in the future, you have to learn from this mistake. Same with WWE. You're going to have any event anywhere, you have to learn from your mistakes. And that is a fact. That is indeed a die-hard fact that I'm sure a lot of people are aware of. But again, what this does in the long run is it gives, like I said, the overall casual wrestling fan base out there that loves all things wrestling, including WWE, and supports everything all wrestling, including WWE. It gives them enough ammunition again to fire back at the AEW fans and point out that, see, you guys are so blinded, you're so delusional that one of you, not once but twice, has tried to sneak in behind the scenes of AEW posing as something they're not. And they could even point out the danger of that element, the danger of that situation. And they could even use what happened with Seth Rollins on Raw, saying, hey, what this guy did to Seth Rollins on Raw, it could have been worse if security wasn't there. If security didn't jump into action or something. But the thing they will add on top of that is this happened before the show. And thankfully, just like Seth Rollins was able to try to defend himself as best he could before security came in to pull the guy off, thankfully it was the wrestlers that were able to see that something was off before escorting this guy out of the locker room to the proper authorities in the building and finding out exactly who this guy is. So, yeah, I'll give AEW credit, at least the Dax Harwood and MJF, I'll give them all the credit in the world for stepping up and being like, yeah, something's not right here. Let's get this guy out of here. Let's take him to the proper authorities here in the arena and see what's going on. I'll give them all the credit for stepping up to make sure something, potentially worse did not happen. But again, this doesn't make the AEW faithful, the diehard fans, in the eyes, from my point of view, my opinion, the AEW faithful diehard fans look any better in the eyes of the overall wrestling community. And to me, this is where lessons are learned. Today, I look at as being a lesson that has to be learned by the AEW fans, whether you're, the regular fans, casual fans, diehards, hardcore, whatever you want to call it, Kool-Aid drinking, whatever people want to call it. Today has to be a lesson of, today is going to go down as a day of lessons learned. One lesson is never assume somebody's going to go somewhere until you get all the details. Don't assume it. Just because you want something doesn't mean it's going to happen. And two, with this situation from last week, this is a lesson of try to be unbiased. Try to look at the pros and the cons, the positives and negatives of even AEW, just like you do with other promotions like Impact, WWE, New Japan, you name it. And by doing so, it may not stop it entirely, but it'll be a first step in even sending a message to someone like this guy that, even my fellow AEW fans, my diehard fans, find negativity with this company or find some badness with this company. If you start showing the unbiasedness and start learning that to a fault, to a T, or at least attempt to, it will be a first step in making sure this kind of stuff doesn't take place ever again. It may not fully stop it, but it'll be a first step. So today I look at being as a day of lessons learned. But like I said, this could have been a situation that could have ended up a lot worse. It could have ended up a lot worse, than originally intended. And thank God for the people like MJF and Dax Harwood to step up along with the other wrestlers and notice that, hey, something is not right here. So hopefully this guy doesn't get allowed to go into any more AEW events, and hopefully the USB Arena security is going to get more training on training as a result of this, to make sure they don't make the same mistake as they did here. And hopefully AEW learns a lesson that when you're going to go and have an event at an arena, to make sure you have security, your own security, standing alongside the arena security, to make sure those that enter, have proof of being personnel, have proof of being part of the show and all that, and not allow someone that just says, oh, I'm this guy. That hopefully AEW has learned the lesson of, hey, make sure we have security alongside the arena security, to make sure the right people come in and not some people posing as someone they're not. So hopefully that happens. So hopefully AEW, and I'm sure they have learned that lesson. But again, for arena security like the UBS Arena, I know it's new and everything, they're going to probably get some extra training. There's no doubt about that in my opinion. But overall though, this just doesn't make, in general, the AEW faithful, the diehard supporters, look good in the eyes of the overall wrestling community that supports all wrestling, including WWE. It just gives that overall wrestling community more ammunition to basically point out the fact that, yeah, I see what you guys do because you're too blinded, to the truth. It just gives them more ammunition. So hopefully, this being a day of lessons learned for the AEW faithful will be one they will take to heart. But what do you guys think of this situation? What are your thoughts on the fact that this happened? How do you think AEW can learn from this? How do you think the USB Arena or any arena security can learn from something like this? And how do you believe it makes the AEW fans, the diehards, the hardcore supporters, even the casual fans look in the eyes of the overall wrestling community? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, as well in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check me out at my Teespring store at check me out at my Teespring store, I should say, in time for Christmas. You can find something there for yourself, family, or friends. Also, check me out at BW Rose's Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. I am close to 300, guys. And if you're listening on the Anchor.fm site or app, I am, I have basically listener support activated. So if you want to help support me there, it'd be great. And if you're listening to me on Spotify or Amazon, where video podcast is, enabled, you can also watch you can listen, I should say, not only to an audio version of my podcast, but you can now watch the video as well. So be on the lookout for that. I already have my recent topics on my mind, live stream, both in video and audio format, uploaded for you guys to check out. Also check me out at BW Roses on Vimeo. Also check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses for the $1 or $3 tier. Also check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2 to help support me there. So until next time, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this whole situation, and I am out.